Hi, everybody. Welcome again to the Worldview. My name is Chris Greco. I'm your host. For the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to talk about different parts of the world, different parts of geography, culture, all these things that many of you probably don't have any idea where exactly it's located. You may have heard of it before, maybe a country, maybe a territory, something that you would like to know more about and you'd like to know where to know more about this. So, from that point of view, what we're going to do today is part two of Geography at Your Fingertips. In the first part, what I did was I went through Google Earth Pro. And what we did was we went through basically the entire world, north, south, east, west, the whole nine yards. And we went through it from a standpoint of geography, distances, different types of topographic type aspects, what the altitude was at certain areas, those types of things Google Earth Pro gives you. So that's the picture of it. That's the video. That's the ability for photographs for an individual to see, but not just to see the geography, not just to see the different topographic aspects, but also to sit back and take a look at the culture and the government and the monetary system and all these different things that go about when we go about looking at a country, what we should know and how we should know it. So what I talked about last week was basically this, and we talked about Google Earth Pro. We went through the entire. I'm serious. Went through the entire world, bit by bit. Showed you how this thing works, how the different aspects work about it. I mean, all the different things that we need to know. Everything from the North Pole all the way down to the South Pole. And we went through all the different continents. We went through all these different areas. Now, I didn't hit places like Madagascar. I mean, there's an island in the middle of literally, it's so interesting because 99%, I'm sorry, it was 90%, it might be 90%, 99% of the flora and fauna that's located in Madagascar is not located anywhere else in the world. Anywhere else in the world. I mean, this is something that people don't know about. I mean, they see the cartoon Madagascar, they see all these different areas, but there's something about different countries that we need to know about, and that's what we need to know about Madagascar. Is that basically the flora and fauna are unique, right? And when we take a look at this, and we take a look at it and we say, okay, this is interesting, but what does it do for us? Well, think about it. I mean, these are areas here within this basic island country, whatever you want to call it, that we could use. We could use those types of flora and fauna to be able to cure diseases, to be able to figure out what the next aluminum is going to be. All these different things that we can take a look at that. And the thing I love about Google Earth Pro, as I've said before, is they also show all the different areas, the shallow and the deep parts of the oceans, which is just amazing to me. I mean, it's as if you can see all the way to the bottom of the ocean. And you can take a look at these and you can say, wow, this is really amazing how this all works. And I mean, this is the Arabian Sea, which if you take a look at it, it's all blue on a regular map. Right here you can actually see you can see the different reefs, you can see the different areas. I mean, and this looks like, you sit there and say, wow, this is really shallow. It's not that shallow, folks, but basically it's shallower than the deepest ocean. So that's the deepest part of the oceans. So that's what we talked about. We talked about Australia. I mean, we talked about all these different areas and what they deal with, boundaries about them, and all these things. And it's interesting to note how many countries there are in the world. Well, if you're going to take into consideration like the UN, the United Nations, there's 193 countries, but there's more countries than actually in the UN. There are countries that are out there that are just are not in the UN, but they're still countries. So that's the geography of it, and we'll come back to this. But what I wanted to go over was the World Factbook. So the World Factbook is what we talk about. We talk about all these different areas, and I think it's really really important to be able to talk about where we are and what exactly we talk about when we talk about these areas. So this is going to be the World Factbook. So we talked about the we talked about this. We talked about uh, the we talked about Google Earth Pro. Now we're going to talk about the the World Factbook. So where's the World Factbook located? Well, you take up here, take a look at the URL, and as I've said before, the World Factbook is located in the CIA. And this is really a treasure trove of geography, culture, everything you can think about. Sorry, it's done by the CIA. And a lot of people think, oh, CIA, woo, spy stuff and everything. Well, I've dealt with the CIA. And let me tell you something. CIA is not just a bunch of secret spies. These are people that, and many of them have advanced degrees in their area. Whether it be geography, whether it be, even they have some archaeologists, they have some, I mean, they have different people that they either have on the payroll or they have as a contractor. And basically what they do is they put forth this information and they help to make this CIA World Factbook. So there's three different areas: countries, maps, references, and then about. So we're just going to go to the countries here. But before we do that, let's just go through there. If you go to the home page of if you go to the homepage, you'll see that they have a lot of things. Fact of the day, they talk about this stuff, you know, national park in South Island in New Zealand. So there's New Zealand there. What's new? View all the updates, explore all the countries. You can actually just search for a country, but I'll show you where the listing is. The world and its regions. We went through almost all of these regions, if not all of them, and different aspects about them. And it's and the oceans, different types of oceans, and then all these different world travel facts, and all these things that need to go along with that. I love this because this is called a one-page country summary. So, you take a look at the country summaries and you can take a look at one page and you can see the country summary from that page. So let's just take Argentina, just won a World Cup, right? So we're just going to take a country summary from Argentina. So it shows a map where it's located. It shows a picture map or a location map, different areas, Buenos Aires being the capital. So of course it's capitalized and it's also the biggest, the all in capitals. It shows something here, and we'll go over this in a second. This is an age distribution, and then this is the flag. And then it goes into just some areas: geography, people and society, government, and economy. So it goes into background, a very brief background as to what it was, and then the geography. Now, folks, this is what I get. This is what I go for. I don't go for the summary. I actually go for the bigger area, and we'll talk about that in a second. The climate, which is interesting because in the Southwest, it's actually sub-Antarctic and all the way to arid in the Southeast. So, I mean, sometimes you have these countries, there's these wide disparities in temperature and climate. And it's interesting to note that. Natural resources, I always talk a lot. I always talk a lot about natural resources because the natural resources of a country make that country, whatever that may be. We're lucky. In the United States, we have a lot of natural resources because we have a lot of different types of topography. We have everything from mountains to desert to, tropical. We actually have tropical, not tropical rainforest, but close. We have different ports. We have different coastal areas. All these different things. Population, and this is good because you want to know what a population is, because it compares it when it compare it to 350 million or 340 million people in the United States. So I always compare this to the United States. If say 46 million, then hey, it's 330 million, 340 million in the United States. So basically 300 million more people than in Argentina. And then the ethnic groups talks about that, which is really cool because, and it's funny because European, mostly Spanish and Italian descent. As a matter of fact, I had some people that I knew when I was in Baltimore that were Italian, but actually were from Argentina. So they could speak Spanish and they could speak Italian and they could speak English. Spanish is the official language, but of course you have Italian because a lot of the Italians moved to Argentina. Religions, I like that because it talks about different religion aspects. For instance, let me give you for instance why sometimes this is really important. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go to Serbia. So we're going to go down to S, and we're going to go to Serbia. And now I've already talked about Serbia at one point in time, but let's just see from the World Factbook. Same thing, photos of Serbia, locator map, different country maps, special country products, all these different things, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to religion. So religion normally is people in society, and we'll talk about this. So ethnic groups, Serbia, 83.3%. Languages, religions. So Orthodox, 84.6%, Catholic 5%, Muslim less than 5, almost a little over 3%. So when you take a look at this, you have to sit back and say, okay, so what, Chris? So Serbia is 84.6% Orthodox. Ah, but their natural, I wouldn't say natural enemy, but a adversary that they think is an adversary is a place called Kosovo. And if you take a look at Kosovo, which is right next to Serbia, you take a look at the same thing here. Now, this is not the summary. This is actually the large area that I talked about before. Ethnic groups, languages, what's a religion? Religion, Muslim, 95.6%. Roman Catholic, less than a little over 2%. Orthodox, Orthodox, 1.5%. Remember, we just talked about Serbia. Serbia was what? Orthodox was what? 86%? Here it's 1.5%, Muslim 95.6%. So we take a look at that, we suddenly realize, oh, there could be religious differences between Serbia and Kosovo, which, to tell the truth, there was, and there still is. And it's interesting how the Kosovars and the Serbians are, they're constantly kind of at each other's throats. They haven't come to blows yet, no deaths, but there are some territorial disputes there that they're having, and even licensing and registration, things like that. They're making a hard time about that. So since we're right here, let's talk about the age structure here. This is the age structure. I always talk about this because this is really important to me. If I take a look at the age structure of a country and I sit back and I go, okay, look, right here, if you add 24 and 16, you get 40%. 40%, over 40% of people in this country, Kosovo, are 24 years or younger. So what does that mean? That means that this is the next generation. If you take a look at 54 and under, it's way above there. Look at the number that's 55 and above. It's only about 15%. 15%, folks. That's not that much. So the older generation are moving on, the younger generation is coming on. And that's where things could change either for the better, for the worse, all depends. You know, um, my father used to always tell me that children are solutions; they're not problems. They will help the world become better. So I'm all for that. So this is called a pyramid, what they call a population pyramid. On the area here, you'll see that, and let's see if I can make this bigger for you. Um, Here we go. So along the bottom area is a population. So 0, 50,000, almost 100,000. So like that. This is male. This is female, and then you have the age here. So you notice how you have this real big bulge here of this age, right around 35. And if you take into consideration, so what's this called? If you were to take this right here and turn it so that this was over here, this would actually be called a right skewed, uh, right, a right skewed distribution, because most of the stuff is over here on the right at this point in time. At this point in time, it's the median, right? Median age. But this is growing, and as this grows, what's going to happen is it's going to push this way, which means that you're going to have more people that are old than are young. But basically, what's happening is that 35, if you take into consideration 35 and older, then all this area, really, when you take a look at it, and you'd have to actually add them all up and do whatever you need to do, find out what the mean was and just go to the right, you'd find there's more data to the right than there is to the left. And there's more data to the right than there is to the left. Just by looking at it, you can see there's more data to the right than to the left, or up than down. So that's what this is. This is literally a situation where you take a look at it, and that's what you're seeing. So this is the interesting thing about it, and you can sit there and you can take a look at this, and if you take a look at some of the other areas, median age is 30.5 years. The median age is 30.5 years. So let's take a look. Okay, from a data perspective, and maybe I'll go over this in the data show a little bit. That means that is the physical center of that data is 30, the physical center. So the mean is the arithmetic center. The mean is basically the number divided by the number of numbers, right? And the median is a more true center, physical center, than the mean is. So that's what we're talking about here. What's the country comparison to the world? Is 120. 120. So remember, it's only 193, so it's way down there. Country comparison growth rate 150, birth rate 117. Again, we're down there. We're really down there. And so this is what you can get from this World Factbook. A lot of different things. Net migration rate is negative. The net migration rate, people moving out of Kosovo, is negative. I think this is Kosovo, right? So I mean, we're taking a look at all these areas, and this is what, and I love this is the area comparison map, which shows I mean, from Washington D.C. to Richmond. I mean, this is small. This is a small country, folks. Small country, and it gives elevation, natural resources, land use, irrigated land. What I like is I go to the ethnic groups and different languages, things like that, and again, you can see, that median is about, when you talk about 50%, this is 20, this is 24 and 16 is 40. So 10% of this would make it 50. So that's going to be about 30 years. And that's going to be your median age is 30 years. So that's why that median is really important to understand and to know. Dependency ratios, median age. I love this death rate. And basically it says country comparison of the world is 83. Uh, so someone sits and says, okay, Chris, you're doing a lot of comparison stuff. So why? I don't really care about that. I said, well, so what I like to do is I like to go to the countries and um, and take a look at different aspects. Now, if you go over here to the hamburger, you can actually go countries, right? So you go to countries, and now what I'd like to do is I like to go to I'm going to bring this down. I like to the United States. Let's take a look at the United States. So, United States. Now let's take a look at see what they have. So what do we have? Well, so there's our area. There's our land boundaries, coastline, all that. But what about when we talk about different aspects, people in society, right? So 337 million, which close, right? I said 340 million. Ethnic groups, a lot of ethnic groups here. um, Languages, English only, Spanish, Chinese, all these different areas. Religions, Roman Catholic is 21% to the Protestant 46.5. So there's a lot of different areas. Now let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at the pyramid like we did before. And what do we see? Well, you see here, look at this. So remember how in Kosovo you had that area right down here on 35, and then it kind of fell off? Well, it's not falling off here, folks. It's you see how this is moving this way? So we have a lot of people that are, from 90, 90 all the way through here to where we hit that 35 mark. We have a lot of people in this area, a lot of population. So I mean, when you talk about it, I mean, look, you have just for this alone, you have 10 million people between 65 and 69. 10 million. Well, I'm sorry, between 60 and 64. So how many do you have at 70 to 74? You have almost 7.5 million. I mean, there's only 46 million total in Argentina. Total. I mean, so we have 337 million people, and this is how it's distributed. This is important, folks. This is important to understand. As this moves, is this going to move so that these 0 to 4 move this way? Because when you take a look at it, 0 to 4 is only 10 million. Your 30 to 34 is 12.5, almost 12.5 million. So now again, we have to take a look at this is all data, and I realize, and I probably should bring this on the data show, which I probably will in future. But you have to take a look at this and say this is pure and unadulterated data. Good stuff. It's really good stuff. So that's basically what you have. And you have this type of look, total dependency rate, median age. What's the median age? 38.5 years. What was the median age of Kosovo? 30.5 years. 30.5 years. We're an older population. Population growth rate, 0.69%. 130 comparison to the world. Birth rate, 151 comparison to the world. Our birth rate is slowing down. Death rate, 78. So our death rate, people aren't dying. So, our birth rate is slowing down, but our death rate is also, you know, it's, it's also interesting. Net migration rate. There's 3.02 migrants, right? Per thousand. So people actually are leaving. They're leaving. A population distribution, urbanization, sex ratio, all these different things. Now, interesting thing about it is that you can do a lot of things. You can take a look at energy, and I like to take a look at electricity. How much are we talking about? Consumption, exports, generation resources. So we have about 60% that are fossil fuels. We have almost 20% that's nuclear, 3.2% of solar, 8.3% of wind, 7% hydro, and about 1.7% biomass. So all these things go into play. Consumption, we consume less than we produce in coal. Petroleum, we consume, let's see, consume. Did I have consume? Consume. Refined, here we go. Refined petroleum consumption, 20 million barrels per day. 20 million barrels per day. Production, 17 million barrels per day. So we consume more than we produce. Interesting. I think that's crude oil. So, you can take a look at that. Natural gas. How do we consume less natural gas than we produce? So we can export. So we export 188 billion cubic meters. Carbon dioxide emissions, we do a lot. Metric tons. We do 5 billion metric tons. So that's only that is second. I think second in the world. Yeah, country in the world. Yeah, second. Now, interesting. I love this because now I can click on this and it'll give me carbon dioxide emissions. It'll give me all the different ones that are producing. So China's number one, the United States number two, India is number three. They're doing a lot of coal stuff. And you learn things like this. India is turning to coal. They're doing a lot of coal production, a lot of coal mining. They're making coal. They're making steel. I know this because an acquaintance of mine is performing data analysis training with Indians about steel production. Russia, Japan, Germany, Korea, all these different ones. Iran is number 8. So you keep on going down. So what's the last one? Well, let's take a look. Last one should be, what is that? 218, Tuvalu, 0. Yep. Antarctica, 28,000 metric tons. So you see how much data there is here. You see what you can do with these things. This is just an amazing area. Countries. Let's take a look at Peru right now, right? Because Peru is in bad shape. They are having a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and you can take a look at this for the background, and so this is Castillo won the last presidential election, but then there was an issue. He was he was basically jailed or indicted on a crime. So now the first vice president is president. They're having a lot of a lot of political issues there at that point in time. So it's best to take a look at this thing and see, okay, what are we talking about? What are we talking about from an area aspect? What are we talking about from climate? What are we talking about from terrain? What about exports and imports? And I really do like that because if I go to economy, I can take a look at exports and imports, and this is really important because who are they exporting to and who are they importing from? I really like to take a look at that because that is really important to me. So basically, they're exporting to China. They're exporting to China. United States only 12%. So 29% of their exports. And what are they exporting? Well, copper, gold, refined petroleum, zinc, fish meal, tropical fruits, lead, iron, and molybdenum. And molybdenum is very important for circuit boards. It's one of the major areas. And it's usually found at the bottom of the ocean, but actually it's there. And where they're importing from? Importing from United States and China. And refined petroleum, crude petroleum, cars, broadcasting equipment, delivery trucks, all these things. Very, very important to understand that. So I think the bottom line is this: is that when you go here, and this is how I do the worldview. I go to World Factbook. If I see something that needs a little bit more explanation, I will research that and then I'll put it on the show. But basically, I try to focus in on something that is happening from that standpoint and how important it is to us. The last thing I wanted to go over was the GDP, which is really r- really interesting because the GDP, what they do is they GDP population. So basically, it's basically how much they make, right? So here's the real GDP per capita is $12,500 basically per person, right? That's real gross domestic product. So you sit back and you go, okay, 12,000, now you can't do anything without comparing. So compare. So let's compare again the United States. And if you go to United States and you go to economy and you go down to the real GDP and you take a look at what's going on there, all of a sudden its capita is 63,700. So we just took a look at 12,000 in Peru. It's 63,000 per capita here in the United States. So those are the types of things that are important. I think those are the types of things that the worldview tries to bring out. And next week, what we'll do is we'll start to take a look at again focusing on the countries. But I wanted to show you how it's done. I wanted to show you geographically how it's done, and then I wanted to show you how it's done from a standpoint of data aspects. And the World Factbook, the reason I know about the World Factbook is because I was part of the intelligence community for a long time. And the CIA World Factbook used to come out in hard copy back in the 1970s and 80s, and it was called another name, but basically it was the same type information. And this is what we do, and this is why it's really important for you to understand the world. So until next time, this is Chris Greco saying thank you so much for watching the worldview, and we will continue to take a look at different countries. We'll take a look at different geographic areas. We'll use the free internet resources that are there for you to go out and find more out about your world. Take care. And remember, always have a worldview.